Excellent. All right. Once again, welcome everyone to our Act in Process lecture series. Today we'll be talking on the topic of diffusion, and I will be introducing our lovely presenter, Dr. Liliane de Roca. Um, Dr. Roca is a board certified behavior analyst who has worked with people with developmental disabilities, severe mental illness, parents, and those looking to improve their lives for over 15 years. She is a certified life coach, ACT matrix trainer, and facilitator, and uses ACT in her work helping individuals and organizations move through conflict and towards value based, purpose infused action. She is the CEO of the Behavior Web, an organization that provides consultation to local schools and hospitals in the US, as well as international consultation in Brazil, her native country. And with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Roca. Give her a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to be a little. Okay, better now?
Yes.
Okay, so I am going to be a little distracted by the two screens because there's me there in that camera and there's me here in this camera. So bear with me while I adjust to the distraction. Um, it's awesome to have you guys here. I appreciate you logging in from home or walking all the way down here to join us. It's a cold night, not a terrible night here in New York. So I appreciate the effort. So thank you, everyone. One thing I would like you to know about my presentation style is I like it to be interactive. So if at any point you have a question, you can raise your hand on Zoom or just let me know here and I'll try to answer your question to the best of my ability. Um, what else? Our idea today, we're not gonna go in depth into ACT or into diffusion, but we're gonna give like a tease so you understand how the processes work and how you can apply to your day-to-day life. If you saw the if you saw the remember, Lily? Oh, if you saw the description of this event, we talked about figuring out ways to uh, understand how to navigate our thoughts and use best strategies that can help us separate a little bit from our thoughts so that we can make choices that work for our life. All right. So, usually, if it were a smaller group, I would ask for introductions. I don't think that we have time for that today. But I see a bunch of familiar names on Zoom, and I'm glad to see you guys all here. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. And okay. I did share my sound because at some point I'm going to show a video. Please let me know if that gives you any echo. Any echo? People who are at Zoom? No, we're good? All right, beautiful. So then, all right, so this is Act 101 series. So as the name says, 101, we are talking about the basics. This is the third event. So initially we had an overview of ACT with Abu, and then we had Dr. Kaplan come last month, and he talked about acceptance. Today I'm going to talk to you about diffusion. And at the end of the month, you have another presenter talking about present moment awareness. So stay in touch, follow us on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, so you can find out more about the events that the New York ACBS offers you. If there's something you want to know or some kind of event that you would like us to arrange, send us an email and we'll try to do our best to bring that to you. So a little bit about me. Uh, Abu gave a lovely introduction, and I put a few bullet points here just to let you know about myself. So you see under my name, there's this letter soup, and most of these letter soups are letters that people are not familiar with. So I'm going to start deciphering those for you. So a DBH is a doctor of behavioral health, which is not a PhD, not a PsyD, not an MD, is a doctor of behavioral health, which means that I did doctoral level studies in behavioral health with a focus on integrated care. And this is what uh, we do at my company, the Behavior Web. BCBA stands for Board Certified Behavior Analyst, QBA for Qualified Behavior Analyst, which are two types of BCBA's national certification in behavior analysis. QBA is international certification in behavior analysis. I'm also a New York State licensed behavior analyst and a master certified coach, which is the MCPC. I'm also a faculty at the Cummings Graduate Institute for Behavioral Health Studies in the doctoral program. I am part of the New York City ACBS board. I am the board manager. We just recently had elections. So thank you for trusting me to do this work. I am interested in many, many things. And but I put a few of them that I'm interested in relevant to this presentation. So I'm interested in integrated care. I'm interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm actually co-chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee in the New York chapter of ACBS. I'm interested in ACT and healthcare change and autism. So enough about me. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about. So if you have attended other presentations in this series, you have learned that when we talk about ACT, we talk about several psychological processes. The whole strategies, the whole approach to acceptance and commitment therapy or acceptance and commitment training involves working with these psychological processes in search of psychological flexibility. So you have probably seen this graph, which is known as the hexaflex, which exemplifies the uh, how the processes interact in order to foster the development and the use of psychological flexibility. So we will, throughout this series, talk about these processes in separate, but they don't work separately. They interact and they are constantly working together. So we have talked so far about acceptance, and today we're going to talk about diffusion. But psychological flexibility is one side of the coin, so to speak. So when the individual is functioning at their best level, when they're functioning up to their potential, they are demonstrating psychological flexibility. But nobody's perfect. We don't stay there all the time. And other processes also are present, which are the ones in green that you see on the slide that they are labeled in green. They are exactly the opposite of the processes of psychological flexibility. They are psychological inflexibility processes. But in reality, it's just we're doing this separation for the sake of, talking about these processes. But these processes, they are meant to be experienced. And we need to understand them as the individual experiences them and presents them in different contexts. Okay. So today we're going to focus on diffusion and cognitive diffusion. Have I lost anybody in the audience that perhaps, did not attend any other lecture and is confused, needs me to clarify before I go more into details on diffusion and cognitive diffusion, or we're good? Go ahead. That's the topic. It's the next slide. Yes, I will explain what diffusion is. Actually, today we're going to talk about these two things, diffusion and cognitive fusion. If you missed the presentation on acceptance, you can visit our YouTube channel and it's there. Okay, so if you don't have the link or you don't know how to find it, shoot us an email. What's the email address? Abu, it's Greater New York ACBS, something like that. Yeah, Abu can put on the text box the email address on the chat, so you can have that email, or just find us on Instagram, send us a direct message, and then we'll send you the link to the presentation. Okay, so let's go. Diffusion. Diffusion is a process by which we bring thoughts or all cognitive mental material and their consequences into consciousness. So we're not just thinking about the thoughts, but any internal experience that we would consider cognitive. So, for example, if you feel pain, pain is an internal experience, right? It happens under your skin. But we don't say you can experience pain in your body, in your excuse me, in your organs, in, I don't know, your foot, your head, whatever part of your body, and not label it. The minute you label I'm in pain, then now it becomes a cognitive, a mental content. The experience of feeling the pain is pain. But the minute we give a name to it, then now it becomes a cognitive experience. So diffusion is sort of the act of untangling the thoughts, their consequences, and their experience, and bringing all that into consciousness. Diffusion invites us to think about openness and to be open about the functionality of thought responses and promoting a flexible response. That's a mouthful, a mouthful. So let's break that down. If you have attended other talks in ACT, you have heard this term, flexible response, and you might have heard functionality of thought. And if you haven't, what we're talking about here is the being curious about what is the function of your thoughts in your experience and your behavior. How will that align with what you do, say, and how you act, and how essentially you live your life? So that's what we're talking about, functionality. Another term that you may hear me throw every now and then is workability. It's how do those choices you're making work for you, or if they don't, okay? And you're gonna hear a lot throughout this talk today and other talks in the series. You're gonna hear us talking about flexibility, a flexible response, a flexible approach, a flexible whatever. So what is flexibility anyway? When we think about flexibility, what do you think of? I usually, when I think of flexibility, the first thing in my mind is downward dog in yoga. You need to be flexible to do that. But let's see, what does dictionary.com say about flexibility? Dictionary.com defines flexibility as the ability to bend easily or without breaking, hence the whole idea of the downward dog. And also calls it the quality of being easily adapt or offering many different options. So that's the one that I like best. When we talk about flexibility as adaptation and about choices and about options, when we are in an inflexible posture, you have access to less. So, for example, those of you now look at the camera where you can see my whole body. So if you think about, all right, so let me try to touch my toes, okay? So if I bend down and I only get here, you will say, I am not flexible, right? And then you're gonna say, and one thing, me, the person who is in the inflexible position, may start saying things like, ouch, this hurts. Ouch, this is uncomfortable. Ouch, I don't want to be here. Let me go back to where I already know, right? But when you practice flexibility, you try to bring yourself different options and you try to adapt. So let's say if I stay here and I am able to develop a flexible attitude in my mind, perhaps as I stay here, I'm able to reach further and further and further to the point that I can reach the floor. Okay, so I guess I am not a yoga teacher, but I guess this is why the yoga teacher says stay in the posture. Because as you stay in the posture, you adapt and you are able to move deeper into the posture. And then when you move deeper into the posture, when you are able to reach a different level in your flexibility, you're able to access different things. So if I remain um, inflexible, I may just be able to reach things up to my knees. If I work towards flexibility, I'll have access to things that go beyond my knees. So that's the whole idea of flexibility. Does that make sense? Anybody confused by what I'm saying? Okay, cool. So this is flexibility as the dictionary.com defines. And now we are defining psychological flexibility as contacting the present moment, the present experience, whatever it is that you are experiencing, living in that particular moment, and being able to change and adapt or persist in whatever behavior in service of chosen values. So flexibility does not happen without contact with the present moment and contact with chosen values. And then where is diffusion in all of this? Well, this is us in complete fusion, not diffusion, okay? So we are like fish in the water. The fish does not know that it's in the water until you take it out. You take it out of the water, it's like, oh no, I need to breathe, put me back in the water, right? We don't know, we don't realize, we don't notice that we are immersed in our thoughts and internal experience all the time. So I'm here talking to you, I'm, looking at my notes, trying to convey some meaning to you. And my mind is like, remember, say that too. Remember, slow down. Remember, check on people. Even as I am speaking, my mind is blah, 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 chatterbox all the time. You are there listening to me and your mind is going. It keeps going all the time. And this is also the time that you're trying to concentrate perhaps in this lecture and you're thinking, oh, I'm itchy, oh, I need water, oh, it's hot, oh, it's cold. And then you are also immersed in all these experiences. But it's not just about being immersed in these experiences as it is, not noticing that you're immersed. Because, some people think, oh, I want my mind to stop. Good luck with that. I don't think it's going to happen. Right. But you can learn to interact with your mind and your experiences in such a way that you lead a life that is aligned with the things that are important to you. So when we are in a state of cognitive fusion, which is the inflexible process here, then we look at mental content as if it was absolutely true. It's like whatever my mind thinks is right. my mind knows. How do you know? Well, because I had an idea, right? So when we are in fusion, we are not aware that our thoughts and their messages are communicated through our learning processes in society. We learn to think the things we think, you know? So uh, look at my shirt. What do you think about this shirt? You don't need to say it out loud. Just realize what you think about this shirt. So you can think a bunch of things about this shirt that I'm calling shirt, and others are like, no, Lily, it's not a shirt, it's a sweater, and it's orange. Others may say it's red, and others may use other words which have the same meaning. So, for example, they may call my shirt vermelha, which is red in Portuguese, or laranja, which is orange in Portuguese. So they're giving meaning using different words, so you're using different language to express an experience that is relatively similar. you know if we all have 20/20 vision and no issues in perceiving colors, and the light is the same for everybody's going to have the same perception of my sweater or shirt. But you may give different labels to it, and the giving label is where the language comes. And in the mind is constantly using language. When you use language, it's different from experiencing something. Let's try something. uh get your hands close to your mouth, do like a little cup like this, bring it closer to your mouth and blow on it, and just notice how it feels. All right. So now this is being there in the experience. Was your mind quiet while you were blowing in your hands? I doubt it. Your mind was probably like, oh, this feels good. Oh, let me check my breath. Or, well, this is weird. What does that have to do with anything? So your mind is still there chattering. Why are you living a concrete experience that has some anchor on your five senses? When you blow, you have that feeling on your skin. So that's one of your five senses that's engaged, right? A language comes. And if we start talking about that experience, how did it feel? Was it hot? Was it cold? Was it whatever words, fresh? Or then you're going to start evaluating your experience, trying to put some sort of meaning to it. And then when we put meaning to the experiences, sometimes we can lose a little bit of the experience. All right. So then, and that's, when we start using the language that we learned through society. So, for example, you're blowing on your hands now and you had your physical sensation, and you're saying, oh, the blow was fresh, or was cold, or was hot. And then you start thinking, uh let me check my breath. Is my breath okay, not okay? And then you start giving value and making review over your experience, and you can then get really tangled there. So when we are in cognitive fusion, we tend to connect, to over connect with uh with our thoughts and feelings. But our thoughts and feelings, they are in reality, they are really connected to context. If I did not say put your hands in a cup, blow on it, you have not thought all the things that you thought when you were blowing on your hands, right? So those thoughts appeared because of the context. And some thoughts become patterns because we learn that in certain contexts, they give us some consequences. And then they allow us to engage in different behavior. we engage in certain behaviors as a result of this context and thoughts that arise in the context. And then we emit certain behaviors as a result. And that's what we call function. A lot of words there. Are you lost yet? So here's an example. If you know me, you know that last week I was a brunette, but today I'm not. What happened there? I'll tell you what happened. Yeah, what happened there, right? What happened there? My roots were showing and they were horribly ugly. So I went to the salon and then I had this thought. I can't go to this presentation on Wednesday with this hair because they're going to record it on YouTube and it's going to be there forever. So I cannot have my roots there. Thought, evaluation. I'm thinking that everybody during this lecture would be paying attention to my roots. How true is that? Really, did you even pay attention to my roots so far? Not until I brought it up, right? But it had a super power over my behavior, and it took me to the salon to spend a lot of money for the woman to fix it. And you know me, you also know that I'm not the type of woman that's always in the salon. So the woman is telling me what she's doing, she's gonna do to my hair, and I'm like, uh-huh. And I have no clue what she's telling me she's gonna do. And I leave the salon blonde. All right. So that's the power of cognitive fusion. Okay. The fusion with a particular thought and a feeling as if it were reality in this particular context led me to emit a particular behavior. Why did I want to go to the salon and fix the hair? It's not because I wanted you guys to think that I'm pretty. It helps if you do. It really doesn't matter in the long run. But it's because in my head, I had this thought that I would look ridiculous with my roots showing. And then I would not be able to perform this lecture because I would be thinking about my hair all the time. And then what function did it serve to go to the salon to get rid of that discomfort? Okay, does that make sense? All right, so there you go. In ACT, we are not so much interested in the thought itself, but when does it appear and what function does it serve? So what context is it that thought is serving? So is in the context of public speaking in a situation that it's going to be registered for a long time, and then I'm feeling vulnerable and I need to do something to feel less vulnerable. So now understanding that, if I had, had that insight or had, that if I wasn't so fused that perhaps, would not be blonde today. In the end, it is what it is. So when we work with diffusion, our goal is to separate ourselves from our thoughts, not to make them stop, but to create some distance that we can recognize them, recognize the context in which they appear, recognize their function, and then make a decision. So if I had thought of all of this, I'm just feeling vulnerable about this and that, and I'm doing my hair, is this gonna contribute to me being presenting better, or feeling better during the presentation, or how is that gonna impact? And does this align with my values? Does this align with the things I want to do, the way I want to live my life and present myself to the world? Then I am able to make that choice without being yanked around by my thoughts. That makes sense? All right. So to use less language, if you know the answer, don't say it. If you've seen this before, don't say it. But if you haven't, if you haven't seen this picture before, try to find the Dalmatian in the picture. Can you see the Dalmatian in the picture? And I'm gonna take a look at your faces here in Zoom. A bunch of people with the camera closed, so I don't know. But I see a few of you looking attentively to the screen as if you're trying to look for the Dalmatian. Can you find? Okay. All right. So here's the Dalmatian. Here's the Dalmatian. So the idea here, when you work with diffusion and you isolate that Dalmatian in the sea of black and white, is that even if I remove the red now and I ask you to go back and look at the picture, Dalmatian is so clear now, right? It's so clear. And so just because I was able to separate the Dalmatian from the context, from the whole bigger picture, and if in 10 years you look at this picture again without looking at it in this interval, you will still look at it and say, oh, yeah, there, I see the Dalmatian. I know where it is. So that's how diffusion works. Uh, it's a process that will highlight, it will contour, it will tell you, look, you're in the sea of thoughts, and then it will, that realization, that that space that creates between who you are and your thoughts will allow you to make different choices, to or even making the same choices, but it's just being the one who just is deciding instead of just being swayed by your thoughts. We tend to think that our everything that happens in our mind is two things: reality and truth. But we also know that we are capable of imagining things that are not real and not true. Can you think of a lie this moment? So, for example, if you say, Lily's a brunette today, that's a lie. Today, I'm not a brunette. Or if you can you think of something like a spider, let's think a purple spider with green stripes with a with skates. You can think of that, but that does not exist anywhere in the world, right? So your mind can definitely create things that are not true or reality. And so being aware and noticing this difference can open different possibilities to you. It's like going a little deeper than your needs. It will bring you to a little more flexibility, allow you more choice. All right. So when we look at cognitive fusion, it's a process of inflexibility, right? So we are now dealing with narrow repertoires, which means inflexibility is that it's narrow repertoire. You can't bend too deep. You just bend narrow, just down to your knees, right? And these narrow repertoires, they are built by history and the habits, and they are the results of cognitive fusion. And then we can notice the presence of cognitive fusion in our lives when we start giving reasons. Why do I have to dye my hair to do this lecture? Well, I have to dye my hair because blah, 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 blah. Reason. So there it goes. I'm giving reason. I'm experiencing cognitive fusion. Or then I'm going to start talking, making judgments. People are going to think that I blah, 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 blah. Or it's not right to go do a lecture with a messy hair. Right? So then I start showing judgment or talking about myself as if something that fits in a box. Or I'm going to talk about the past. Oh, I watched this lecture by somebody and I was so distracted by her roots, and I don't want that to happen to me. or it could be, I'm going to be talking about the future. This is going to be on YouTube later. And then when I see that on YouTube, I'm not going to be able to handle it. Or you're going to be talking about rules. In order to do a professional presentation, you need to dress a particular way. And if I don't dress a particular way or present myself a particular way, then I'm not good enough. All right. So then you have there the cognitive fusion showing up. So you're gonna get yourself with this, justifying. So for example, do you want to try something new? No, no, because, and then you start giving reasons that are not, practical reasons. Say, I can't do this because it's during my work time and I have to work. It's more like I'm not capable, or this is not the kind of thing that X label does. Okay. So, for example, in behavior analysis, which is, my cup of tea, we tend to work on observable behavior. So a lot of behavior analysts are fused with that idea that behavior analysts do not look at covert behavior that happens inside your skin. Like I'm talking about all these thoughts processes here. That's a fusion, because behavior analysis is behavior analysis. It's not overt behavior analysis or covert behavior analysis, behavior analysis. And behavior includes both covert and overt. So, and then we start giving rules, you can't do this and that because you're a behavior analyst, or you can't do this and that because, or you do this because. So, for example, uh, one thing that you might hear me saying if you live, if you have a close relationship with me, it's like, I'm loud. And then I say, I'm loud because I'm Brazilian. It's not because I'm Brazilian that I'm loud. I'm loud because I'm loud, but then I'll give a reason that it's because I'm Brazilian, so that's a fusion there with one of my identities. I have a bunch of identities. Brazilian is one of them. New York is also one of them. And so, but, and those identities come out in certain contexts. I may be justifying my accent or some whatever word that I mispronounce when I'm giving a lecture in English. I may bring up, I'm Brazilian because, then so to prepare you for, or to prepare myself for the vulnerability of the mistakes I'm going to make when I speak English. But in other contexts, for example, my son lives in Midwest. My daughter lives in Miami. And when I go there, I'm like, I can handle this place. I'm too much of a New Yorker. So what am I, a New Yorker or a Brazilian? It changes with context, right? And when I'm and in each place, when I'm justifying my behavior because I'm a Brazilian, a New Yorker, or a woman, or whatever identity I choose, I'm limiting myself with cognitive fusion. All right. Everybody still with me, or am I losing you? I think there's a bunch of stuff on the chat here, but nothing that I need to answer, right? It was just people that could see the Dalmatian. Okay, good. All right, so you understand diffusion now? You think you can identify examples in your own life that you've been fused? Would anybody like to volunteer one? Either online or here? Oh, I had a bottle of water here, no? Oh, right here. Okay. So anybody wants to volunteer one? An example? I'm calm. Yes. So somebody in the Zoom is saying, I'm calm. So what means that if you are overly fused with being calm, even in situations where, could be best to be a little bit exasperated, you will not engage in that behavior because you're calm. Right? Okay, so then somebody else is saying, I identify with being loud because I'm from New York, and then again, so are you loud because you're from New York, and are you loud in every single context? Not in every single context, right? And there are many New Yorkers that are not loud, really. Yeah, yeah. So somebody here is saying, I'm from New York and I'm not loud, which could also, if she's saying, I'm from New York and I'm not loud. But if she said, I'm not loud because I'm from New York, that would be a fusion. All right. We're good? Okay. So let's talk about diffusion. Diffusion, when we're talking about all these rules that I mentioned here before, all this reason giving or engaging in justifying the past or talking about what's going to happen in the future, so our minds are trained to problem solve, right? So now we're already thinking, oh, when I say I'm loud because I'm Brazilian, I'm loud because I'm New Yorker, I can't handle this because I'm New Yorker, then I just have to correct myself and not say that. Right? We're already thinking of I have to tell myself, come on, stop that. And so diffusion is not accomplished by logical argumentation. You are not going to convince yourself to step out of diffusion. I'm gonna tell you a story that happened with me. When was it? I think it was during the summers. It feels like such a long time ago. Yeah, it was in the summer. In the summer, my husband, my son, and we went to Niagara Falls. And my son wanted to, we're standing by the viewpoint in the American side. We're there looking down, and then there's some people all the way down, really having that water on you. And it was summer, so it was hot, and that water, showering in the falls seemed like a wonderful idea. We wanted to do that. And I saw that they had like a bunch of stairs to get there, and it's hot. I do not do very well with heights, but I was thinking, oh, my knees cannot handle up and down those stairs. But my son wanted to go. My husband wanted to go. So I went to the, places where you buy the tickets, and I asked, do they have an elevator? Because if I can go down, no problem. But coming up those stairs, I'm not doing it. Coming up all this I'm not doing it. And she's like, oh yeah, they have an elevator. You go there, but the stairs are part of the attraction. And you could see it was because people were on the stairs, taking the shower. But she told me there was an elevator. I was really worried about the whole thing that I had to go up. And I'm like, oh sure, let's go. We get there, the view is breathtaking. If you've been there, it's something you look anywhere. It's something that you're like, whoa. So me being what am I? An act practitioner, right? So I'm soaking in the present moment because this is what act practitioners do. And I'm there, wow, so beautiful. Looking at everything. My husband and my son, they were interested in the shower. So they go. Okay. And then I get myself in that situation. When I'm like, all right, it's time to go. When I go, they had the stairs for you to go down. So this is what it wasn't terrible. It was maybe 2 flights of stairs down and then 2 flights of stairs up. So, in a U shape like this, so you could get to the shower. But when I got to the first set of steps, that thing was really steep. And when I got there and I looked and I said, nope, I'm not going down these stairs. This is too high. I cannot go down. I can't handle this. And then I was stressed because I was like, come on, I paid all this money. And I'm not gonna go. And my husband is and my son are like, come on. I'm like, I can't. Just go enjoy your thing. I can't. And then they go, and I'm there like walking, pacing side to side. This is ridiculous. This jump. Everybody's going down. It's really not dangerous. Why can't you go down? You are an active trainer. You know how to work this thing. You are a grown. You understand. And I'm having all this conversation with myself with, this logical argumentation that I could, you know, put up with what seemed impossible to me, trying to convince myself that I could handle that fear. It's just a few steps. Everybody does it. You can do it. And there was no way that I could do it. And I was getting super stressed. And at some point, I took a deep breath and I said, hold on. Yes, I am an ACT trainer. Yes, I am an ACT practitioner. But ACT is not about doing everything all the time. ACT is about flexibility. Here I am thinking that there are only two choices: be stuck here and miss the shower, or go down without fear. These are the only two choices that I could see, and none of them were available to me. But if there is flexibility, then is another choice. So then I asked myself, what else could it be? And when I asked myself, what else could it be? I went out of that thought pattern that I was crazy engaging in, and I could then look around and see what else is available. Is there some path that's not so crazy? And I did not see any other secret passage. What I did see was like a bodyguard or some sort of guard, because he was all dressed in orange, one of those jumpsuits, orange, and suppose I thought, maybe he works there. And then I went to him and I said, can you help me go down the stairs? Because if I could go down the stairs and not see how high it was, I'd be fine. But if I get there and all I see is that thing so high, there's no way that I could do it. So what happened actually is I asked him to help me, and he said, sure, I can help you. And I said, all you have to do is go one step in front of me, very slow, one step at a time. So you block my view. All I see is your back. And that's what he did. He went one step at a time down, and all I could see was pretty much his neck, and I was able to go down, and then I was able to go up and enjoy the thing that I really wanted. And I had the best time with my family. It's actually one of the best pictures I have with my husband and son. In that moment, we were all exhilarated. So that's what diffusion offers you: the possibility to experience something different, the possibility of choice. So we're not going to get there. Just hold on. We're not going to get there by argumentation. We're going to get there by a change in context. Yes, Abu.
Yes, there is someone who raised their hand. Let me go and.
Sure.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question.
Do you want
So,
to
can you hear me?
open your mic and say your question,
Yes.
Diamond?
Can you hear her?
No, but hold on.
Oh, I was asking,
Good, good, good.
can y'all hear,
Go ahead.
can you hear me now? Okay, so I was wondering, is the fuse thought that the steps were steep?
If who thought the steps were steep?
No, was the fuse thought the fusion, was it, oh, these steps are
The fusion
steep?
was I can't do it.
Oh, okay, got you. Okay.
That's the limiting thought. I can't. this space between whatever's going on in your mind, in your internal experience, and and you are going to uh, create that space so you can observe really what's going on, what is going on in your experience, because the fused thoughts I had in Niagara Falls that I was not safe. Okay. But if I could, when I could step out of that crazy loop, I could see other options. I could see clearly that I was, uh, safe because, everybody could do it, but also that there was a way to increase my safety using the help of the person that worked there. So in therapy, in the context of ACT work, you are going to use several strategies to work with fusion. When fusion appears, so for example, I work with a lot of people who are either on the spectrum or have family members on the spectrum or work with people on the spectrum. And the fusion is he can't do it because he's autistic, or he does that because he's autistic. And so in working with, so I can see in my work, I can see how that belief, that that thought process, that pattern limits the choices and the behavior repertoire. So in working with the person, we're gonna use several strategies. So we can, for example, one thing that's great that immediately creates a difference, a space between yourself and the thought process is talking to your mind. So you can say, my mind is telling me I can't go down those stairs. My mind is telling me I'm not good enough. And if it's my mind who's telling me whatever, then if we sort of treat the mind as a separate entity from yourself, then you have distance. It's your mind, it's not you. My mind is telling me that I'm bad. It's not that I am bad. It's just my mind who's telling me. My mind tells me many things, including that purple spiders with green stripes can roll a blade. Yeah, so not everything that my mind tells me is something that I should follow. And then you can work with metaphors to help the person notice the thought pattern that they're fused with. Or you can talk as if you are observing that thought process and see, does anybody else notice that thing? Or how old is this? How long have you felt this way, thought this way, experienced this? Or a good one is, when those thoughts that bother you so much happen, do they come out of nowhere? When do they come? So let's look at the context in which they're happening. Or what are you noticing right now when those thoughts happen? Or in this situation, what else are you noticing? What else could it be? Was the question that I asked myself in Niagara Falls. But what else is a good one? And if you could, for example, one good exercise is observe that thought externally. Literally, you imagine as if that thought is something outside of you, or that thought or that feeling, that experience that uh, you're dealing with is something that's outside of you. So, for example, at some point I was coaching somebody who had this compulsion to wash her hands. she was seeing a psychiatrist and a psychologist to deal with that. So this wasn't psychotherapy, it was in the realm of life coaching. And she came to coaching because this issue was affecting so much her relationship with her daughter, her husband, and her immediate family, you know, mother and father and sisters. And so we she would say, for example, so if I have to cross a door to go to my mom's house, I know that door everybody walks through, and sometimes people touch the doorknobs or the walls, and I have to walk there like this, and then people look at me and make fun of me, and then we fight, and I don't want to fight with them. And I said, so what would you like to do? And I said, I would like to cross that door without issues. And so I'm like, and what happens when you're in front of the door? And so now we're looking at the whole experience from outside, right? So she's having that experience there, and she's looking at it from a distance. And then she said, oh, I think blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, so your mind says that. And who's saying that? Is it you yourself? You truly believe that? Oh, I have this feeling, this thing inside of me that bothers me. All right. So what's the name of a thing? Let's give a name to that thing. And she gave the name of the thing. Oh my God. This was a Brazilian client. So I am not sure how to say that in English right now. It's, you guys are gonna tell me. It's that mollusk that you see in the seas, like round and has a bunch of spikes outside. Then if you step on it, it will really hurt you. Is it water? Yeah, in the water. You know what it is, but you know the name? I can look it up online. Okay. I'll use Google Translate. Urchin. Urchin. That's the one. It's the urchin. So she said, this thing is an urchin. All right. So let's look at the urchin. So she put the urchin outside. She said, all right. So I'm like, bring this urchin out. Let's look at it. Where is it? She's like, right here on top of the table. Okay. Tell me, what is it doing? Oh, it's moving. It's doing this and that. Okay. So is it saying anything? No, it's not saying anything. What would you like to say to it? So she is now, it doesn't matter the whole process, the details, I don't even remember anymore. But in that moment, she was looking at her biggest fear in the shape of an urchin. If I said, look at your fears, I can't do that. Look at the urchin. Oh, I can do that. You know, so then we're gonna use metaphors. We're gonna work with some exercise to have to facilitate with uh, contact with content that is limiting, that is, you know, difficult, that that you try to avoid. And then it's like the only thing I can think is Harry Potter, when they have that thing in the closet that is your biggest fear, and then you imagine it is something funny and it disappears. I forgot the name of the thing. It's a whatever entity, magical entity that can transform itself in your biggest fear. And the way to counterattack is to transform it into something funny. So that's essentially what we're doing here. We're looking at this thing that we are avoiding relating to, avoiding experience, avoiding really, you know, having that contact with. And then we're creating ways in which we can look at it, notice it, and create different context about it. So now that this patient with the urchin, next time that she went to her mom's house and she heard the whole chatter that her mind used to do, she said, urchin, not you again, and walked through the door. So what is it? So she created a distance between herself and the urchin, and was able to make a different choice. All right. I want to show you guys a little clip now, and let's hope that it will work. So let me see. Hold on. I don't know if I click play here. Will it play? Let's see. Have you seen this movie? If you haven't, I recommend. It's very cute. But if you are not into children's movies, I definitely am. This clip is awesome. Oh, it worked. Can you hear it? Because my speaker is off. Okay, that's what I thought. So, okay, I am going to restart and open my speaker. Just 1 second. Here we go. No.
No, it's not going through.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I know what it is. I put my volume to 0. Oh, because I wanted to avoid the echo. Now we're good.
You,
Good.
Yeah.
you coming?
Nope, I can't do it. Never in a million
Hey.
years.
I know your problem. You got a Bruno in your head.
A Bruno.
Yeah, I get one too sometimes. Alberto, you can't. Alberto, you're gonna die. Alberto, don't put that in your mouth. Luca, it's simple. Don't listen to stupid Bruno.
Why is his name Bruno?
I don't care. It doesn't matter. Call him whatever you want. Shut him up. Say, Silenzio Bruno.
Silencio Bruno.
Louder. Silenzio Bruno.
Silencio Bruno.
Silenzio Bruno.
Silencio Bruno.
Can you still hear him?
Nope, just you.
Good. Now hang on. Andiamo! Yeah!
Silencio Bruno, Silencio Bruno, Silencio Bruno.
Yeah!
Yes! We're alive! I can't believe it!
Take that, Bruno!
Yes!
Oh.
It's really cute. So,
Look, we got to
let's start again. Why is it
Sit on
starting again? All right, okay,
Look,
just
we gotta
stop. Okay, so what we see here is like they're going on this adventure, and the kid is about to just sit out because Bruno in his head is saying that it's not a good idea. And okay, let's take it with a grain of salt. This is a cartoon, and in real life, I don't know that I would do that. Going down that, especially being that steep. You know me and steep places, but the whole point here is that one experience that turned out to be amazing, that turned out to be something that you can have. You see his face of exhilaration and joy when he's up there and looks to the sky and looks from the high point that he's at and looking at the sea and all that view, how he's like, whoa. Well, Bruno did not want him to live that. Well, it's not that Bruno is mean, It's our minds are wired to protect us. If you think about it, the human beings who were afraid and anxious are the one who survived to have offsprings, right? So throughout our evolutionary trajectory as humans, being afraid, being anxious, being guarded was reinforced, and it served the it served humanity, served the species, right? So what we're seeing here is you know, that behavior that in that context, in the context of, prehistoric times, and even up to a century and a half ago, it was something, it was much more meaningful. Like, the context really needed you to be more guarded than now. Now, we have more access, so we don't have like a tigers running out the streets. We don't have wild animals around that we have to fight against to protect ourselves. We have a um good what's it called, good network of support, that we can find shelter, food, and social contact much more easily than last 2 centuries. So the things that were a threat to the species are not a threat to this, as much of a threat to the species now in this context, but our minds have not caught up. So then evolutionarily, we still have the mind that looks for the problem and is gonna tell you, don't go down there because you're gonna die, and or because something terrible is gonna happen. A lion is gonna attack you. You're gonna be ostracized and no contact with anybody. But see, we are at such a state that, look at 2020. We couldn't really be with people, but we figure out other ways of being with people. We're here with a bunch of people online. That's social contact. And that wasn't available last century, but it is available now. So that changes things a little. So just so you know that Bruno is not really mean. It's not like Bruno wants you to be miserable. It's just he wants to protect you. Okay. And when in our day-to-day, the way that Bruno in our minds is gonna talk to us is using statements of comparisons, evaluations, reviews. So for example, I'm here giving this lecture, and I'm here giving this lecture because is aligned with my values. How is it aligned with my values? So I mentioned before, I'm interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So doing a lecture that's hybrid is a way to work towards equity. People who are outside of New York City have access to that. People who are not able to catch the train or drive or walk to get here on time are able to access that. Talking about diffusion may help people create some space between themselves and their thoughts so they may lead more flexible lives, which is something that I am interested in having. So coming here and giving this talk is aligned with my values. But Bruno in my head is saying, are they gonna like this talk? Are you saying everything you should say? Are you as good as the person who presented before you? Are you as good as the person who is going to present after you? In the whole list of presenters in the cities, where do you rank? Bruno in my head can be telling me all these things. Don't go do it because you're not as good as Dr. Kaplan. Don't go do it because you're not as good as Dr. Nassim. And there you go, so you stop, you miss opportunities, you limit your repertoire because you're stuck in the comparisons, evaluations, and etc. You could also be Bruno is going to be telling that things are it's going to bring a sense of complexity and restlessness. So you're going to be having a million thoughts and examining 30 scenarios for any possible thing that could happen. And then you get distracted from the experience because you're stuck in this dialogue, in this chatter with Bruno. Bruno may also come up with an adversarial quality, trying to convince you that he's right. So, for example, in this scene of the Bruno, one boy is saying, don't listen to Bruno. And Bruno might be saying, what do you mean don't listen to me? You're gonna go down this thing, you're gonna, die. Look at that bike. Look at that, look at the ramp. This is I am right. I'm here to, you're gonna listen to this person who doesn't know what they're doing. So you're gonna hear your mind come up with arguments like that. And then it's also another sign of Bruno in your head. It's like, remember that day, how it didn't work? It's not going to work today again. Or you do this now and you're going to see forever people are going to remember you. Forever people are going to remember that. How many times have you done something silly that, you're like, oops, I shouldn't have said that, or oops, I shouldn't have done that. And then let's say you go to a party and there's two people that look alike and you confuse them. You call one by the name of the other and you spend like 5 minutes talking to that one person, but it's actually another person you're talking to. And you say, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were so and so. And the person says, oh, come on, this is no big deal. And for that person, it's no big deal, but you're going to be thinking about that for hours. And then days later, you're going to still be thinking about that. So you're going to be stuck in the past. Or you're going to be like, I'm not going to go to this party because I can't remember everybody's name and I'm going to make a fool of myself. And going to parties is not a good thing for me. Or you're going to come up with a plan. Plans are the best. We're always coming up with a plan and the plans never work in general, right? Because life doesn't go according to plans. So I'm going to go and this is going to happen. And if he says this, I'm going to say that. And if he calls, then I'm going to. And then you start, planning and creating what can happen out of this. How can you understand what's the solution? And Bruno is going to be really loud and chatty looking for solutions. Or sometimes Bruno is going to do a generalization or over generalization in which it can be saying, for example, Bruno can come up with a rule. You shouldn't date because all men are terrible. Right? Or don't hang out with Brazilians. They're not good people. Right? And then you go and you create a generalization. And then you limit your opportunities because you are creating a rule that generalizes or overgeneralizes. One of the big things that happen in terms of fusion, we fuse with rules sometimes that we don't even realize that we are creating that rule is governing our behavior. A rule is a statement of if a behavior happens, consequence is going to happen, right? So, for example, look both ways before you cross the street or you're going to get run over. You don't need to get run over in order to learn that rule, right? So it's a statement of a contingency and then it governs your behavior. Every time before you walk across a street, you look both ways, right? Even if you're in the middle of nowhere and the context is completely different, you're still gonna look both ways. I've caught myself doing this, crossing a dirt road in my father's farm. So rules have that power over your behavior. The thing with the rules that some rules are clear because our parents have told us, look both ways before you cross the street. So this is a rule we're familiar. But sometimes we create rules that we're not even aware. And then we fuse with them. A patient this week, she had this rule that she can't say what she really thinks because people are going to get hurt. And if she says what she really thinks, people are going to get hurt. And then, so for example, one example that happened was this friend of hers wanted to took some days off and said, I'm gonna spend a couple of days in your house. And she said she thought, I don't want you here. I want to rest. I'm tired. I don't it's cool for us to hang out, but you don't need to be here 4 days, you know. That's what she thought. That's what she wanted to say, but she didn't. What she did, she let the friend come. And the friend came, and sure enough, she got tired, and she her frustration tolerance was lower, and they had a fight. So she had this rule: I can't say what I think because I'm gonna hurt people. Then she didn't say what she thought, and what happened? She hurt her friend. And so sometimes we create rules and we live by them without ever checking if the rule is working, if it's really getting us what we are looking for. And that's impressive. I thought I talked really fast, which my plan B, because I need to perform here. So Bruno was telling me, if you run out of time, be prepared. So I have a few slides for if I ran out of time, but I think I'm not gonna go over it. And I thought, if I talk really fast, I'll go there. But I was talking really fast, and I think that we don't need to go there. So I'm just gonna forward and uh, thank you for sticking to the end with me. You have my Instagram there. The Dr. Liliane Rocha is my Instagram, and at the behaviorweb.global is the Instagram for my company. If you follow me there, you can learn more about the things that I do. And I think for now, I want to open up for questions, comments, anything that you guys want to share. It's not clear, or that worked for you or didn't work for you. It's your turn to talk now. Should I stop sharing the screen?
You can.
Okay. So anybody wants to say anything? Is Bruno telling you don't say anything because whatever you're gonna say is gonna be silly? What's going on? Vivian, it looks like you're speaking, but your microphone is muted.
Eu estou respondendo o questionário, se é para brasileiro, então eu falo em português. E aí
All
eu tô
right,
lendo.
but we just let's go slow because we need everybody to understand. So yes, you can ask your question in Portuguese. Give me
No.
some time to translate it back to everybody.
No, I'm reading the survey.
Oh, she's filling out the survey. Okay. So all right. So that's all she needed to comment. Anything else you guys want to comment on, or should we just wrap it up? Yes. Flexibility gives us choices. Diffusion is one of the processes of flexibility.
Seems like the word creating.
No, because doesn't cause fusion, but because when you are justifying or giving reason, many times that word can be a sign of fusion. Another good sign of fusion in the vocabulary that we use is I have to, I should. When you say I should, you are usually thinking of it's a fusion, a fusion with whatever identity you have. I should do this, or people like me don't do that. I have do this because so have tos, shoulds, and reasons in general, when you start justifying context and situation, then you should be curious if fusion is happening. It's not that it's 100% of the time. You know, you may say, I brought my umbrella because it's raining, and that because there is not fusion, you know, but you can you can be curious. You know, the processes of psychological flexibility invite you to be curious if there is any fusion there. And what you're gonna see usually when there's fusion, we really feel in our bodies constricted. You know, I can't so if I say I can't go give a lecture because I have an accent. And that's not happening. I'm here giving my lecture with my accent, but there were times that I didn't. There were times that I would not do things because, you know, I have an accent. And then just the thought you say, Lily, come give a lecture for us. I'd be like, no. Inside, I'd be like, all constricted, you know? So you will feel the sign of, you know, the telltale of fusion in your body, really. Yeah.
We have a question from Nancy.
Yes.
Hi, thank you so much. That was a wonderful talk. When somebody is fused with an idea based on their experience, something maybe happens to them over and over and over again, maybe something like, every time I go to see my parents, it's a disaster. But they want to go see their parents. It's in line with their values. How do you work with that? Because does diffusion come into play here?
So remember when I mentioned the whole inflexibility part, that you bend over and it hurts and I don't want to do this, and then I get up. But if I can tolerate the pain, the discomfort, then I can go a little deeper and deeper and deeper. So then you can say the diffusion here can allow you to have some space between what your mind is saying, the limitation your mind is posing on your behavior, and your choices. For example, every time I go to my parents' house, we argue, and then I don't want to go there. But I want to go see my parents because I love them. So then you can rephrase this dialogue with your mind. Like, my mind is telling me that every time I go see my parents, we argue and it's a problem. And I want to see my parents. So then now you have a choice there. What you're gonna do? And when you put it this way, and it's like, my mind is telling me this and I want that. Now you have choice, and you can say, today I'm willing to put up with it. I'm gonna go, and if problems start, I'm gonna say, all right, I have to go, or I don't want to go down that road, and I'm gonna leave early. And you know, or I'm gonna go and spend 5 minutes and leave, or I'm gonna go talk to them on video call, or I'm gonna have what I want, which is contact with them in a different way, because I'm thinking that the only way my mind is telling me that I can't go to see them in person, and I'm so fused that I think that the only way is, you know, seeing them, going to their house, right? Or I can decide to go and tolerate the discomfort of expecting a fight,